The containment field flickered as Jake Morrison hit the cold metal floor, his lungs burning from the teleportation. 20 pairs of violet eyes stared down at him. The Volari women stood nearly 7 feet tall, their silver skin gleaming under harsh white lights, and every single one of them looked ready to tear him apart. Jake scrambled backward until his spine pressed against the sealed door. He had been sleeping in his apartment in Denver 3 minutes ago. Now he was trapped in what looked like some kind of arena, surrounded by alien females who were circling him like predators. The tallest one stepped forward. Her name was Kira, though Jake would not learn this until later. She spoke in a language he could not understand, but the universal translator embedded in his neck during the abduction crackled to life. "The human male is awake," she announced to the others. "The elder said he would provide entertainment. He looks fragile." Laughter echoed through the chamber. It sounded like wind chimes mixed with thunder. Jake's heart pounded against his ribs. He had served 2 tours in Afghanistan before becoming a firefighter in civilian life. He had faced down armed combatants and walked into burning buildings, but this was different. These were aliens. Real aliens. And they were treating him like a toy. "I don't want any trouble," he said, raising his hand slowly. "I don't even know how I got here." Another Volari woman pushed through the crowd. She was younger than the others, with sharper features and a curious expression rather than a hungry one. "He speaks. The translator works." "Of course it works, Mira!" Kira snapped. "The question is whether he can fight. The games require a male who can last more than 30 seconds.
Jake's blood ran
They had kidnapped him for some kind of gladiatorial combat. "What games?" he demanded, forcing strength into his voice. "What do you want from me?" Kira smiled, revealing teeth that were just slightly too sharp. "Human males are rumored to be resilient. Stubborn. We shall see if the rumors are true. You will face the trials. If you survive, you earn your freedom. If you fail," she did not finish the sentence. The crowd parted, revealing a massive doorway at the far end of the arena. Something roared behind it, something big. Jake's training kicked in. He scanned the room for weapons, exits, anything he could use. There was nothing, just smooth walls and alien women who seemed to think his death would be amusing.
That Jake Morrison had never given up on anything in his life. He was not about to start now.
"Fine," he said, squaring his shoulders. "Bring it on." The doorway began to open. The creature that emerged from the darkness stood 12 feet tall with 6 muscular legs and a head covered in bony plates. Its claws scraped against the metal floor as it focused on Jake with 4 glowing red eyes. Saliva dripped from jaws that could crush a car. Jake did not run. Running meant death. He had learned that lesson fighting insurgents in Kandahar province. Panic killed faster than any enemy. The Volari women watched with eager anticipation. Several placed bets using small glowing devices. Kira crossed her arms and studied Jake with what might have been professional interest. "The human stands his ground," Mira observed quietly. "Interesting." Jake kept his eyes locked on the creature. It moved in a strange rhythm, shifting its weight from leg to leg, testing the ground. Predator behavior. It was sizing him up the same way he was sizing it up. Then it charged. Jake dove left at the last possible second. The creature's jaws snapped shut where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. He rolled across the floor and came up running, using the beast's momentum against it. The thing crashed into the wall with enough force to crack the metal plating. The Volari women went silent. That was not supposed to happen. Humans were supposed to freeze. Humans were supposed to die quickly. Jake grabbed a piece of broken metal from the damaged wall. It was not much of a weapon, but it was something. He spun to face the creature as it recovered and shook its massive head. "Come on," Jake muttered. "Let's see what you've got." The creature roared and charged again. This time Jake was ready. He waited until the last moment, then sidestepped and drove the jagged metal deep into the creature's eye. The beast screamed in agony and thrashed wildly, but Jake held on, twisting the makeshift weapon and pushing it deeper. Black blood sprayed across his face. The creature collapsed, its legs twitching as life drained from its body. Jake stood over the corpse, breathing hard, covered in alien gore. He turned to face the Volari women. Every single one of them stared at him with expressions ranging from shock to something that looked dangerously close to admiration. "Is that all you've got?" he asked. Kira stepped forward slowly. Her entire demeanor had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by genuine curiosity. "No human has ever survived the first trial. You killed a Ravex with your bare hands and a piece of scrap metal. I'm not most humans." Mira pushed past her older companion. "How did you know to attack its eye?" That's the only vulnerable point. Even our warriors take years to learn that technique. Jake shrugged. Predators on Earth have weak spots too. Eyes, throat, joints. I figured it couldn't be that different. The Volari women exchanged glances. Something had shifted in the room. Jake could feel it. He was no longer prey in their eyes. He was something else entirely. There are more trials, Kira said carefully. No one has completed them in over a century. The rewards for success are considerable, and if I refuse, then we send you home. But you will never know what you could have been, what you could have had. Kira gestured to the chamber around them. The Velari Dominion spans 3,000 star systems. We have technology beyond your imagination, medicine that could cure any disease, ships that travel between galaxies. All of this could be yours. Jake looked at the dead creature at his feet, then at the women surrounding him. He should have been terrified. He should have demanded to go home immediately. But something in his chest burned with a feeling he had not experienced since his military days. Purpose. Tell me about these trials, he said. Mira smiled. It was the first genuine smile he had seen from any of them. There are 7 trials total. Each one tests a different quality: strength, intelligence, endurance, courage, leadership, compassion, and finally wisdom. No male has completed all 7 in 300 years. What happens to those who fail? They die, Kira said flatly. Usually during the 3rd or 4th trial. The strength test you just passed is considered the easiest. Jake absorbed this information. 7 trials, each harder than the last. A near-certain death sentence wrapped in the promise of unimaginable rewards. Why humans, he asked. Why not use males from your own species? The room fell silent. Mira looked away. Even Kira seemed uncomfortable with the question. Our males died out centuries ago, Kira finally admitted. A genetic plague swept through our population. Only females survived. We have used cloning and genetic engineering to maintain our civilization, but something has been lost. Our scientists believe that introducing compatible genetic material from other species might restore what was taken from us. You want my genes? We want what you represent. Resilience, adaptability, the ability to face impossible odds and survive. Kira stepped closer. Humans are young in the galaxy. Your species existed for barely a blink of cosmic time, but you have spread across your world like wildfire. You have survived ice ages and plagues and wars that would have destroyed lesser races. There is something in your blood that defies extinction. Jake had never thought of humanity that way. On Earth, humans seemed fragile, temporary. But from an alien perspective, maybe they were something more. When does the next trial start, he asked. Tomorrow. You will need rest. Kira clapped her hands and 2 Volari women approached. Take him to the recovery chambers. Give him food, water, and medical attention. He has earned proper treatment. As Jake was led away, he caught Mira watching him with an expression he could not quite read. Curiosity mixed with something deeper. Hope, perhaps. The recovery chambers turned out to be surprisingly comfortable. The bed molded itself to his body. The food tasted strange but satisfying. A medical drone scanned his injuries and applied treatments that healed his cuts and bruises within minutes. Jake lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. 12 hours ago he was worried about his mortgage payment. Now he was fighting for his life in an alien arena, while an entire race of 7-foot-tall women watched. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Somehow, miraculously, he still had it. The screen showed no signal, but the clock still worked. It was 3 a.m. back in Denver. His shift at the fire station started in 5 hours. He laughed. It was absurd. All of it. And yet, for the first time in years, he felt truly alive. Sleep came easier than expected. His dreams were filled with fire and stars. Kira stood in the observation room above Jake's quarters, watching him sleep through the transparent ceiling. Mira joined her after several minutes of silence. He should not have survived, Kira said quietly. The Ravex was fully grown, hungry. The human had no weapons, no armor, no training in our combat techniques.
And yet he won. Mira tilted her head.
Perhaps the elders were right to focus on humans. Perhaps they really are different from the other species we have tested. One trial proves nothing. The maze will be harder. The psychological examination harder still. And if by some miracle he survives those, the leadership trial has broken stronger candidates than him. Mira said nothing, but she kept watching Jake sleep, and her expression remained curious. In the Grand Council chamber, the Volari elders reviewed the footage from Jake's fight. The High Matriarch, a woman named Sarah, who had lived for over 800 years, leaned forward in her throne. Impressive, she admitted. Raw. Untrained, but impressive. Where did this human come from? A city called Denver on the North American continent, one of the advisors reported. He works as a firefighter, a profession where humans run into burning structures to save others. They run toward danger? Deliberately? Yes, High Matriarch. It appears to be a common trait among certain human subgroups. They call themselves first responders. Sarah processed this information. Continue the trials, but monitor him closely. If he proves worthy, he could change everything. Jake woke to the sound of chimes. The room had brightened automatically, simulating a sunrise that felt strangely comforting despite being completely artificial. Mira stood in the doorway. A second trial begins in an hour. You should eat. He swung his legs off the bed and stretched. Every muscle ached, but the pain was manageable. The alien medicine had done its job. What should I expect? I cannot tell you. The rules forbid it. She paused. But I can say that the second trial tests intelligence. Think before you act. Thanks for the tip. Mira smiled. You intrigue me, human. Most males from other species are either terrified or arrogant.
You are neither. You simply adapt.
It's what humans do, so I am learning. She stepped aside as servants brought in a tray of food. Eat quickly. The council does not appreciate tardiness. Jake ate everything on the tray. He did not know when his next meal would come, and running on empty was never smart in combat situations. The food tasted like a combination of honey and beef, which should have been disgusting but somehow worked. When he finished, 2 guards escorted him through winding corridors that seemed to go on forever. The architecture was beautiful in an alien way, all flowing curves and impossible angles. Windows showed glimpses of a purple sky dotted with 3 moons. They arrived at a massive door covered in symbols Jake could not read. Kira waited for him there, along with a dozen other Valari women who appeared to be officials of some kind. The second trial is the maze, Kira announced. You will be placed inside a labyrinth designed by our greatest architects. The maze changes constantly, walls shift, floors collapse, there are creatures inside that will hunt you. Your goal is simple. Find the center. What's in the center? Survival. Kira gestured and the door began to open. You have until the 3rd moon sets. If you have not reached the center by then, the maze will seal itself and you will be trapped inside forever. Jake looked at the darkness beyond the door. He could hear something moving in there, something that clicked and scraped against stone. Any advice? He asked. Kira almost smiled. Don't die. Jake stepped into the maze. The door sealed behind him with a sound like a tomb closing. Complete darkness surrounded him. He could hear his own heartbeat echoing off walls he could not see. Then the lights came on. He stood at the entrance to a corridor that branched in 3 directions. The walls were made of some kind of black stone that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. The ceiling was too high to see, and somewhere in the distance, something screamed. Jake picked a left path. He had no logical reason for this choice. It just felt right. His instincts had kept him alive this long. He was not about to stop trusting them now. The corridor twisted and turned in ways that made no geometric sense. He was certain he was walking in circles at some points. But the maze kept changing around him. Walls appeared where there had been openings. Floors dropped away without warning. He learned to move carefully, testing each step before committing his weight. The maze was patient. It could afford to wait for mistakes. After what felt like hours, he encountered his first creature. It was small, about the size of a dog, with too many legs and a mouth that seemed to be mostly teeth. It saw him the same moment he saw it. Jake did not hesitate. He grabbed the creature before it could react and slammed it against the wall. Once. Twice. 3 times until it stopped moving. More screams echoed through the maze. The other creatures had heard their companion die. They were coming. Jake ran. Not in panic, but with purpose. He needed to find the center before they found him. The maze fought him every step of the way. Dead ends appeared out of nowhere. The floor collapsed beneath his feet more than once, and only his reflexes saved him from falling into bottomless pits. The creatures pursued him relentlessly, and he was forced to fight several more times. But slowly, impossibly, he began to understand the maze's patterns. It was not random. It was testing him. Every obstacle was designed to measure a specific quality. The shifting walls tested his memory. The collapsing floors tested his reflexes. The creatures tested his courage. He started predicting the changes before they happened. Left turn here. Wait for the wall to shift. Run now, before the floor gives way. Strike first when the creature appears around this corner. The Volari watching from hidden cameras could not believe what they were seeing. This human was solving their maze in real time, adapting to its challenges faster than any candidate in recorded history. Kira stood in the observation room with her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. He should not be able to do this. And yet he does, Mira replied. How long has it been? 4 hours. The fastest previous time was 18 hours. Most candidates take days if they finish at all. He will reach the center soon. Yes. Kira's voice was tight. He will! Jake burst into the central chamber covered in blood and sweat, his clothes torn, his body pushed to its absolute limit. But he was alive, and he had made it. The chamber was beautiful. Crystal formations rose from the floor like frozen flames. Light filtered down from somewhere far above, creating rainbows that danced across every surface. In the center of the chamber sat a simple stone pedestal. On top of the pedestal rested a golden medallion. Jake approached it slowly, half expecting another trap. But nothing happened. He picked up the medallion and felt warmth spread through his fingers. A door opened behind him. Kira stepped through, followed by Mira and several other officials. Their expressions ranged from disbelief to something approaching awe. You completed the maze in 4 hours and 23 minutes, Kira said. The previous record was 18 hours. You have shattered it. Jake looked at the medallion in his hand. What does this mean? It means you advanced to the third trial, the psychological examination.
Kira paused.
But first, you rest. You have earned it. As they led him out of the chamber, Jake caught Mira watching him again. This time he recognized the look in her eyes. It was not just curiosity anymore. It was hope. The psychological examination took place in a chamber that looked nothing like the arena or the maze. It was a simple room with 2 chairs facing each other. Jake sat in one. Across from him sat an elderly Volari woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to look straight through him. I am Zara, she said. I have conducted this examination for 300 years. In that time, only 2 candidates have passed. Both of them went on to fail the later trials. What does the examination involve? Truth. Zara leaned forward. I will ask you questions. You will answer honestly. The technology in this room can detect any attempt at deception. If you lie, you fail immediately. Jake nodded. Ask your questions. Why did you agree to continue the trials? You could have gone home after the first one. Jake thought carefully before answering. Because I felt alive. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a purpose. Explain. Before I was taken, I was just going through the motions. Wake up. Go to work. Save some lives. Go home. Repeat. I was good at my job, but I wasn't passionate about it anymore. Something inside me had died. What was that something? Real challenge. The kind where failure means death. Jake met Zara's eyes without flinching. I know that sounds crazy. But humans need adversity. We need obstacles to overcome. Without them, we wither. Zara studied him for a long moment. You killed the Ravex with no hesitation. Most beings would have frozen or attempted to flee. Why didn't you? Because freezing and fleeing both mean death. The only way to survive was to fight. But the Ravex was much larger and stronger than you. Size and strength aren't everything. Speed, intelligence, and willpower matter more. That creature was all instinct. I could think. That gave me the advantage. Zara nodded slowly. Tell me about your greatest failure. This question hit harder than any physical blow. Jake closed his eyes and remembered. 3 years ago, I responded to a house fire. A family was trapped inside. Mother, father, 2 children. I got the kids out first. Then the father. But when I went back for the mother, he swallowed hard. The floor collapsed. I couldn't reach her in time. She died. Yes. How did that make you feel? Like I had failed everyone who ever believed in me. Like I wasn't worthy of the badge I wear. Like maybe I should have died in her place. Jake opened his eyes. They were wet. I think about her every day. Her name was Margaret. She was a schoolteacher. Her husband never recovered from losing her. Do you blame yourself? Yes. Even though I know I did everything possible, even though my commanders told me no one could have saved her, I still blame myself. I always will. Zara was silent for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. Many candidates try to hide their failures. They think showing weakness will disqualify them. But you admitted yours freely, along with the emotional damage it caused. Lying wouldn't change what happened. And pretending I'm unaffected would be disrespecting Margaret's memory. You are an unusual human, Jake Morrison. Zara stood. You passed the psychological examination. Your honesty and emotional depth are rare qualities, even among our own people. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. The fourth trial is the most difficult of all. It tests leadership. And leadership cannot be taught. It can only be demonstrated. The leadership trial took place in a simulated battlefield. Jake was given command of a squad of 10 Valari warriors, all of whom clearly resented taking orders from a human male. Their mission was to capture an enemy stronghold defended by 3 times their number. The warriors were skilled but arrogant. They wanted to charge directly at the enemy and overwhelm them through brute force. Jake knew this approach would get them all killed. Listen to me, he said firmly. I know you don't respect me. I know you think humans are weak and primitive, but I've been fighting battles since before some of you were born. If you want to survive this, you'll follow my orders. One of the warriors stepped forward. Her name was Vera, and she was clearly the informal leader of the group. Why should we listen to you? Because I've already completed 3 trials that were supposed to kill me, and because I'm the only one here thinking clearly instead of letting my pride make my decisions. Vera glared at him for a long moment. Then she stepped back. Fine, what's your plan? Jake smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled since arriving in this place. Here's what we're going to do. The plan was risky. It required perfect timing and absolute trust between squad members. Jake divided his forces into 3 groups. One would create a diversion at the main gate. Another would infiltrate through an underground passage. The third, led by Jake himself, would scale the walls and disable the enemy's communications. Every warrior had a specific role. Every movement was coordinated down to the second. And when the attack began, it was beautiful in its precision. The diversion drew the majority of defenders to the main gate. The infiltration team emerged inside the courtyard and created chaos. And Jake's team reached the communication center before anyone knew they were there. The enemy commander surrendered within 20 minutes. Not a single member of Jake's squad was seriously injured. Vera approached him after the battle. Her expression had changed completely. The resentment was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. You were right, she admitted. Your plan was superior to anything we would have attempted. I wasn't trying to prove you wrong, Jake said. I was trying to keep everyone alive. That's what leadership means. It's not about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about bringing out the best in the people around you. Vera nodded slowly. I think I understand now why the elders are so interested in humans. From the observation room, the Eye Matriarch watched the replay of the battle for the 3rd time. Her advisors stood in silence, waiting for her judgment. Remarkable, Sarah finally said. He turned 10 reluctant warriors into a cohesive unit in less than an hour. He saw weaknesses in the enemy's defenses that our own strategists missed, and he accomplished the objective without losing a single soldier. Do we continue? One of the advisors asked. Yes. Prepare the 5th trial. The 5th trial tested compassion. Jake was placed in a scenario where he had to choose between saving a group of innocent civilians or completing a mission objective that would benefit millions. There was no right answer. Both choices had terrible consequences. Jake chose to save the civilians. The mission failed. Millions of simulated lives were lost because of his decision. When it was over, Kira asked him why he made that choice. Because those civilians were real to me in that moment, Jake explained. They were right in front of me. Scared. Helpless. I couldn't abandon them for an abstract greater good. If saving millions means sacrificing the innocent people standing beside you, then maybe those millions aren't worth saving. That is a very human perspective. Maybe. But it's the only perspective I know how to live with. Kira was silent for a moment. You pass. But the reasoning you provided is exactly why many believe humans are unsuited for galactic leadership. Your species prioritizes immediate emotional connections over logical long-term outcomes. And your species would let innocent people die for statistics on a spreadsheet? Jake shook his head. That's not strength. That's cowardice dressed up as wisdom. Kira's eyes flashed with anger, but she controlled herself. The 6th trial will test these convictions further. I hope you are prepared to defend them. Jake met her gaze without backing down. I always am. The 6th trial tested wisdom. Jake was presented with complex ethical dilemmas that had no clear answers. He was forced to make judgments on matters he knew nothing about, using only his intuition and moral framework. He got some answers right. he got others wrong. But what impressed the examiners was not his success rate. It was his willingness to admit uncertainty and ask questions rather than pretending to know things he didn't. Wisdom isn't about having all the answers, Jake told Zara when she asked about his approach. It's about knowing what you don't know and being humble enough to learn. Most males we have tested believed they knew everything. They failed because they could not accept that reality was more complex than their understanding of it. That's ego, and ego gets people killed. Zara smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. You have passed 6 trials, Jake Morrison. Only the 7th remains. What is the 7th trial test? Everything. And nothing. Zara stood. You will face it tomorrow. Rest well. You will need all your strength. Jake lay awake that night thinking about everything he had experienced. The battles, the maze, the psychological examination, the impossible choices. Each trial had stripped away another layer of who he thought he was, revealing something deeper underneath. He wasn't the same man who had been kidnapped from his apartment in Denver, that Jake Morrison had been sleepwalking through life, going through the motions without truly living. This Jake Morrison had been forged in fire. He had faced death repeatedly and emerged stronger each time. Whatever the 7th trial held, he was ready. The final trial took place in a chamber he had never seen before. It was completely empty except for a single mirror that stood in the center of the room. The Valari elders lined the walls, watching in silence. Kira and Mira stood near the front. The 7th trial is simple, Sarah announced. Stand before the mirror. Face yourself. Jake approached the mirror slowly. At first he saw only his reflection. Battered. Scarred. Exhausted but determined. Then the reflection changed. He saw himself as a child, small and afraid, hiding from his father's drunken rages. He saw himself as a teenager, angry at the world, getting into fights and nearly destroying his future. He saw himself in the military, learning discipline and purpose for the first time. He saw himself at the fire, watching Margaret disappear into the flames. He saw every mistake he had ever made, every person he had failed, every moment of weakness and doubt and fear. And then he saw something else. He saw himself making different choices, better choices. He saw a version of himself that had never learned to fight, never developed the strength that had kept him alive. That version was softer, happier perhaps, but also weaker, unable to face the challenges that life threw at him. Jake understood. The mirror was showing him the cost of his strength. Every battle scar represented a lesson learned through pain. Every trauma had shaped him into someone capable of surviving impossible odds. He could have been different. He could have been easier. But he would not have been here. I accept it, he said aloud. All of it. The good and the bad. The strength and the pain. I accept who I am. The mirror shattered. Light flooded the chamber. And Jake felt something shift inside him, like a door opening that had been locked his entire life. The Valari elders rose as one. Even Sarah, the 800-year-old high matriarch, bowed her head in acknowledgement. You have completed the 7 trials, she announced. You are the first to do so in 3 centuries. By the laws of our people, you have earned the right to choose your reward. Jake looked around the chamber at the alien women who had kidnapped him, tested him and pushed him beyond every limit he thought he had. They had treated him as a curiosity at first, then as a test subject, then as a potential resource. But now they looked at him differently, with respect. With hope, with something that might have been the beginning of equality. What are my options? He asked. You may return to Earth with riches beyond imagination, Sarah said. Technology that would make you the most powerful human alive. Or you may remain here as an honored guest of the Dominion, with access to anything you desire. Is there a third option? Sarah's eyes narrowed. What did you have in mind? Jake took a deep breath. I want to be a bridge. Between humanity and the Valari, between Earth and the Dominion. Silence fell over the chamber. No candidate had ever requested something like this. Explain, Sarah commanded. You said your males died out centuries ago. Your species is dying slowly, no matter how advanced your technology is. Humans might be young and primitive by your standards, but we have something you've lost. Diversity. Adaptability. The ability to grow and change. Jake stepped forward. I don't want riches. I don't want power. I want a partnership. Humans and Valari working together to build something neither of us could build alone. Kira spoke up. You would bring more humans here? Males and females, if they agree to come. Volunteers only. People who want to explore, to learn, to grow. In exchange, the Valari share their knowledge with Earth, medicine, technology, the chance to join the galactic community. This is unprecedented, one of the advisors protested. Humans are too primitive for such an arrangement. Were they too primitive to complete your trials? Mira challenged. Were they too primitive to defeat your Ravex, solve your maze, and pass your examinations? This human has proven that his species deserves a seat at the table. Sarah raised her hand for silence. The chamber went quiet. You ask for much, Jake Morrison. This would change the course of Valari history. It would change human history, too. But isn't that the point? Isn't that why you kidnapped me in the first place? You were looking for something new. Something different. Something that could save your people from extinction. Jake met the High Matriarch's gaze without flinching. I'm offering you exactly that. The only question is whether you're brave enough to accept it. Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was the first genuine smile he had seen from her. You truly are a remarkable human. Very well. Your request is granted. You will serve as ambassador between Earth and the Valari Dominion. The details will be negotiated in time, but the principle is established. Cheers erupted from the younger Valari in the chamber. Mira was practically glowing. Even Kira looked impressed. Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He had done it. Not just survived the trials, but changed the rules of the game entirely. Myra approached him as the celebration continued around them. You know this won't be easy, she said quietly. Many Valari will resist this partnership. Many humans will be afraid of us. I know. But the best things never come easy. Jake smiled at her. That's what makes them worth fighting for. You really believe humans and Valari can coexist? I believe we can do more than coexist. I believe we can thrive together. Your species has knowledge and technology beyond anything we've ever imagined. My species has resilience and adaptability that you've been searching for centuries. He held out his hand. Together, we could build something amazing. Mira looked at his outstretched hand, then at his face. After a moment, she took it. Together, then, she agreed. In the observation room, Kira watched the exchange between Jake and Mira with mixed emotions. She had been skeptical of humans from the beginning. They were so fragile, so primitive, so emotional. But Jake Morrison had proven her wrong at every turn. He had faced impossible challenges with nothing but his wits and his will. He had shown compassion without weakness, strength without cruelty, and wisdom without arrogance. Perhaps the elders were right. Perhaps humans really were special. Sarah joined her by the window. You seem troubled. I am uncertain about this path, Kira admitted. We have been alone for so long. Opening ourselves to another species, especially one as unpredictable as humans, carries enormous risks. Life is risk, Sarah replied. We have played it safe for 3 centuries, and what has it gained us? A slow decline into extinction. This human offers us a different future. A dangerous one, yes, but also a hopeful one. And if he betrays us, then we will have learned something about the universe. That trust is a mistake. That isolation is the only path. Sarah shook her head. But I do not believe that will happen. I have seen the fire in his eyes. Jake Morrison is not a man who betrays those who trust him. 3 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the Valeri flagship as Earth appeared on the view screen. His home planet, the place he had been kidnapped from, looked impossibly beautiful from space. Beside him stood Mira, Kira, and a delegation of Valari diplomats. They were about to make first contact, officially introducing themselves to the governments of Earth and beginning the long process of integrating 2 civilizations. Are you ready? Mira asked. Jake thought about everything that had happened. The arena. The trials. The impossible journey from abducted human to ambassador of a new era. He thought about the firefighter who had been sleepwalking through life and the man he had become. I've been ready my whole life, he said. I just didn't know it. The ship descended toward Earth. Below, satellites and telescopes tracked their approach. Emergency broadcasts interrupted programming around the world. People stared at the sky in wonder and fear. Jake pressed his hand against the viewport, watching his world grow larger with each passing moment. He was about to change human history forever, and for the first time in years, he wasn't afraid of what came next. He was excited. The future was unknown. The challenges ahead would be immense, but Jake Morrison had already proven that humans could rise to meet any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. And that was just the beginning.